Okay, this is the finished version of the arrows and how they scroll up and down. In the end, I couldn't make them work through functions, but that's something I can always look at later on. For now, though, they all have their own individual code. I'll go through it again like I did previously. Alright, it starts off by loading up the basic variables, and then it has this if statement here, which basically controls whether or not the arrow is visible, or whether or not it can actually scroll. What it does is, if the height of the content, so if the height of this bit of text here is smaller than the content area that it's actually in, so the background behind it, then the arrow disappears. And to make the arrow not actually clickable, on the mouse down, I put in, sorry, not the mouse down, on the enter frame, as well as the scroll lock, which registers the mouse down, there's also the scroll visible command. So that if the arrow is visible, it works. If the arrow is invisible, then the click function doesn't work, because there's problems with making movie click buttons completely invisible. They seem to just be there still, even though you couldn't see them. This part of the code has changed as well. You've got the initial code that was there before to make it scroll, which is that section, from there to there. This last little bit here controls the flick, which I'll show you in a second. And all it does is it registers whether or not the content is being moved above a certain point, so beyond a certain point. In this case, further, trying to go further down in the top section. So if it tries to go down below there, it's easier to show first. Let's see. Right. So if you try and make it go further up than that line there, it says no, you can't do that, and it makes it slowly go down a pixel at a time back into the original position, so that it gives this bouncy effect. And in the opposite direction, so you can see that it goes, it's a lot smoother than it will probably look on the film. And then this does the same thing at the bottom. Now the way it knows where the tops are, because if you shrink this text and enlarge it, it'll always do that at the top and that at the bottom. And it does that for all of them. And the way it does this is part of the magical code, because the top function doesn't matter. The top function works because all my content areas are rooted registration points in the top left corner. So the top function always works the same regardless. The bottom one, however, is slightly different. Go down, the same scroll visible functions there, but on this part here, you can see that rather than it works from the height, so the top point, top line, and then adds in the factoring the height and the content area's width. So the function knows how high the content area is and how high the actual content is, and then works out how far down it can go before it needs to be controlled. So the only bits that need to change for each of the arrows are the topmost point of the content area, which is the same for any content, and the height of the content area. So if I check on this one, you can see that the height of this one, the start point, is there, is 345. You can see it in the top right hand corner of the screen. And the height there is 180. Now it's quite simple how I worked that out. I just took the point from there, 345, and then the point from there, 530. Or I think I might have made it 5. No, it's 530. And then you just work out the gap in between, and that becomes the new control number. And I can show you as well if I just shrink one of these down. Let's unlock one of them. Let's say number 2. So now I've used masks quite extensively in this to make them actually work. So now if we take this function here, we should make the height down to 150 as an example. So now it's smaller than that text area, so those arrows shouldn't appear or be clickable. But they are. Okay, minor setback. Let's see here. So let's just find these two to click. You can see I use the masks quite extensively. And if I just shrink this one down, make it say 142, you can see it's now smaller, so those arrows won't appear when it comes time to publish it. You can see that published, the arrows have disappeared. Although the arrows have disappeared on most of them, which I assume means that their functions as links. I can solve that quite easily. But you can see they aren't clickable. In fact, they've completely disappeared. That we have functions to do with scroll lock. I might have to set different scroll visible variables. And in the reverse, if we make this up to 642, so now it's much longer than it needs to be, all the way down there, and we publish that. You can see that the top part is the same thing, lagging slightly because of the recording. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, it goes all the way to the bottom of the text, and still does the same thing. It's remembering where the points are. I'll fix those arrows now, and then it'll be moving on to the closing transition for these. So when you click on the different sections, the different icons here to move to new areas, how it shrinks down, ready to start the next scene. Thank you very much.